Typically when I make pasta, people are like, Dash, I don't have that fancy roller or this or that. But if you're making gnocchi, you probably already have the ingredients and you don't need any fancy tools. Okay, so we're making gnocchi. Now, I was gonna post a gnocchi recipe a long time ago. I'm talking like years ago. I never did. Fast forward, now we're here. Wow, very cool. Before we even talk about that, I need to go over something, okay? The last video, someone commented, it got top comment, I don't know why, asking me to make a book called something like a Weissman once said, or let me just level with you guys. Love the idea. How do I say this? No. Gnocchi's super easy. You only need potatoes, egg, flour, and that's it, actually. Oh, and all salt. After that, you can make gnocchi. So with all that said, let's make this, shall we?
Gnocchi is so easy you don't even need a recipe. Matter of fact, you shouldn't, because every potato isn't exactly the same. Now start off with 3 big boy russet potatoes, around 2 pounds. Place those in a pot and cover with good old H2O. That's science for water. Bring that up to a boil and boil your taters for 30 to 45 minutes or until easily pricked with a fork, but not total mush. Pull them out and peel their skins off. You can do this by hand or you can use a peeler. I peel them afterwards to avoid waterlogged.
Ow.
Now from here we need to mash them while they're hot. How you do that is up to you. I personally think a potato ricer like this one works really well in getting it nice and fine. And I'll have a link in the description with the one that I use. But hey, a good forkin or with a hand masher is also totally cool. Mash till completely smooth, then let your potatoes cool just enough so they don't hurt your little fingies when you mix. From there, you'll add 1 large egg, give that a mix till thoroughly combined, and a generous pinch of salt. Then start mixing in some all-purpose flour a small handful at a time, just until it starts to come together. Begin kneading and adding flour intermittently until it comes together to a beautiful, smooth, bouncy dough that shouldn't be too sticky, like this. You'll have added around 1.5 to 2 cups, or 225 grams to 300 grams of flour. Look, doing it by eye, you'll learn a lot better and it's more fun. You gotta get a feel for the dough. Now once your gnocchi dough is ready, divide into 4 even pieces, then dust one of those segments of dough with flour as needed and begin rolling into a long tube, sort of like a funny potato snake of sorts, till it's nice and long and about 3/4 of an inch thick. And cut that into segments that are about 1 inch long using either a bench scraper or a knife. Then continue that with all of your dough. Now to help speed this up, you could totally bring the homies over, and well, obviously to kiss you goodnight, but yes, speed. Now once you've got your little gnocchis, you can either call it a day and use them as is, or if you want to add some functional shape, you can use a gnocchi roller or even a fork to press and roll your gnocchi to get this nice creased design. Now the reason I do this is because duh, it looks cute as a croissant, but it also helps hold more sauce, and you guys know how I feel about sauce. Once those are done, place the finished gnocchi on a baking sheet generously dusted with flour. Now before we boil and go to Flavor Town, let's first discuss some sauces. First up, pesto. I love me a traditional hand-ground pesto, but this more modern version has superior coatability. Simply take a 30 cup or 55 grams of pine nuts, place them in a cold pan, and heat over medium heat, stirring often until lightly toasted. In a blender, you're gonna add 2 large handfuls, about 2 cups of fresh basil, 3 cloves of fresh garlic, peeled obviously, please, 1 cup or 90 grams of grated Parmigiano Reggiano, a little bit of salt and pepper to taste, your toasted pine nuts from earlier. Now begin blending that. Now you're probably gonna have to add a small splash of water, just barely enough to loosen it. Don't add too much, or otherwise it'll get too thin. I added a little too much here, oops. Once it becomes nice and smooth, while it's blending, stream in a half cup or 120 milliliters of extra virgin olive oil. You can also add a little more if you want it creamier, but I think that's a good amount right there. And immediately place your pesto into a container. Now you can cool it down from here in an ice bath if you want to retain that color. I'm using mine immediately, so I didn't, but just be aware that this oxidizes really fast. Now the next part's super easy. Take your gnocchi, get some water boiling, season your water generously with kosher salt, toss in 10 or so pieces of gnocchi per person, and you're gonna boil this for about a minute, potentially less, or until they begin to float. Then get yourself a bowl, use a spider to remove your gnocchi, place your hot gnocchi into the bowl, along with a generous amount of your pesto, to taste of course. Add a splash or 2 of your pasta water, stir aggressively to get that nice and emulsified, and that is your pesto gnocchi. Place your gnocchi in a shallow bowl along with some extra sauce, add some fresh grated Parmigiano Reggiano, a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper, and that is a pesto gnocchi. Now let's taste this.
All right, it's pesto time. I feel like a lot of people are gonna complain about this because they're like, oh, yeah, it's not traditional. You gotta do it with a mortar and pestle. And Italian grandmothers would probably be disrespected by this. And I understand, respect, and understand. All I have to say is I know that Massimo Bottura, one of the chefs of literally voted the best restaurant in the world, 3 Michelin star, Osteria Francescana, okay? He He blends his pesto sometimes and emulsifies it, so if he does it, it's okay. And also, look how beautiful. Stunning. First off, stunning. Look at this. This beautiful, vibrant, I mean, that's how it should be. I mean, it's totally perfect. Melts in your mouth. It's salty. It just makes me wanna cry. Tears of pesto that's emulsified perfectly into beautiful, vibrant green sauce out of my tear ducts. To me, this is actually like one of the better pestos I've ever had. When you pick up a piece of, when you pick up a piece of gnocchi, you get that like rich pesto through and through. It doesn't miss anything. It's not like falling all off of it. To me, this is a better application because it sticks better. Call me crazy.
Now next up, we're doing another non-traditional sauce, which is sauce mornay. Get yourself a medium-sized sauce pot. To that, you're gonna add 1.5 tablespoons or 28 grams of unsalted butter. Heat that over medium heat. As soon as that butter melts, add in 1.5 tablespoons or 17 grams of all-purpose flour. Whisk that together and let that cook and toast for about a minute or so. Keep whisking constantly, and then from there, you're gonna slowly add 1 cup or 240 milliliters of warm whole milk. Whisking constantly. Keep going. Keep pouring and mixing until all of your milk is added and you have a nice, smooth, beautifully thickened sauce. Reduce the heat to low. Continue mixing. Once your sauce reaches a consistency like this, turn the heat off and add 1/2 cup or 35 grams of grated Gruyere cheese and 1/4 cup or 21 grams of grated Parmigiano Reggiano. Now I know, it's not traditional, okay? I'll explain later. Then just whisk all that together until beautifully smooth, creamy, and cheesy. Finish your sauce with a little bit of salt and pepper to taste and a little bit of fresh grated nutmeg. Just a few minutes at room temp, this will begin to sort of get crusty, so just keep it heated and stirring until you're ready to use it. Make sure not to burn or boil it. Now again, boil your gnocchi just until it begins to float. Pull it out, put it in a bowl, add a generous amount of your sauce mornay, toss in a little splash of your pasta water, and mix aggressively, and look at this beautifully emulsified sauce. Looks kind of reminiscent to mac and cheese almost. Finish it with fresh grated Parmigiano Reggiano and a little bit fresh cracked black pepper, bruv. Thank you.
Ah yes, another unconventional use of gnocchi. You guys are probably really unhappy with me right now. At the end of the day, gnocchi we made, I feel like, relatively traditionally. The sauces are up to you. I made essentially what I would consider, starts as a bechamel, and you add cheese, and then what does it become? Vikram, what does it become? I don't know. TJ, what does it become? Nobody, it's a, no, not a hollandaise. Vikram's like, it becomes a mornay sauce. Technically French, and we did make it the traditional French way, but there's nothing wrong with putting that on gnocchi, on beautiful, pillowy, voluptuous gnocchi. Matter of fact, it went to the back of my throat. Essentially what we did make though is mac and cheese. For anybody who's wondering what mornay sauce really is, it's a bechamel that you've added cheese to. What is mac and cheese? A bechamel add cheese to. This is mac and gnocchi and cheese. It's like mac and cheese, but more sexy.
Okay, one more. This one's gonna be a fried sage butter gnocchi. Nice and crispy too. To do that, get yourself a 10-inch non-stick skillet. Toss in 3.5 tablespoons or 50 grams of unsalted butter. Set that over medium heat. Let that melt. Now once that's nice and hot and boobling, toss in half a bunch of fresh sage. Let that cook for about 10 seconds or just until it begins to get a little fragrant. Now on the side, I've got my gnocchi boiling. Again, once the gnocchi is fully cooked, you're then going to remove it, place it in the hot sage butter, season it to taste with salt, give it a little toss. Now let that sit undisturbed for about 2 to 3 minutes or just until it gets beautifully crispy and crunchy and golden on one side. Flip and repeat on the other side. Now from there, you actually can serve it directly out of the pan. Get yourself a bowl, daintily place your gnocchi and your fried sage leaves into that bowl, drizzle a little bit of the butter on top, and finish with some fresh Parmigiano Reggiano, and that's all you need. Beauty and simplicity, my friends.
Now what if Tuck stay in there?
It's dark in here.
Okay, you can come out. Yay! You can come out. We've seen this one all over the internet. I'm so tired of the term sage brown butter, but that's what it is. But I'm also sick of hearing it. All the food bloggers are like, so today, I made sage brown butter cookies, and I also made a sage brown butter pancakes. This is basically a fried gnocchi, fried in the pan. It's not deep fried. It's nice and glossy. You've got some Parmesan Reggiano that you've shredded on top. There we go. And we get a little leaf of fried sage, which crunchy and flavorful. You know, I hate on the sage brown butter, and yet it always comes through. The flavor, texture, the richness, it's not too rich. Put more butter in here if you want, and just have it like swimming in butter, which is what most places will do, actually. But the gnocchi itself is like beautifully cooked. The inside, it's bouncy, melts in your mouth, it's rich. It's developed a nice sort of like crispy crust. I mean, you could hear it. Hear it. All these sauces are really easy to make, but this one for some reason hits the home the best. It's great for winter. This is a little bit heavy for right now. I'm gonna go to sleep now. This is sort of like an all-encompassing, very simple way to make your gnocchi. So go to bed, have a good sleep, wake up, make some gnocchi, stop saying that you're gonna make it, Just the time is now.
But do you want to know what else is plump, can be coated in sauce, and then placed in your mouth? B-roll.
Alright guys, and that is it. So we made gnocchi, the Italian dumpling of voluptuous, almost like a sleepover pillow that's just so perfect you want to sleep on it. I might have had some complications with the power going out, but that doesn't matter. I know I did use a potato ricer. You don't have to do that. You can mash it with a masher. You can use a fork. You could squeeze it with your bare hands. If you're a barbarian, sure, fine. I'll only judge you a lot. Whatever method you choose, you're gonna be satisfied. It's a ton of fun to make with people, and you can put it in any sauce you want. It's just a chewy vehicle of pillowy goodness. So with all that said, if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, yeah, or okay, bye, Papa love you. Okay, that's it.